obviously two things that are so incredibly important in life. In my experience, often people have self-doubt when they come across a hurdle and they retreat or shy away from trying to achieve something or trying to move through their problem because it just seems so daunting. How could people boost their self-confidence in order to reach their potential and move through problems?
I always, when I go into discussing self-esteem and confidence, I always try to listen to my clients' issues of where they think they have low self-esteem, where they think they've not got the confidence to go, for example, for a job interview or on a meeting someone new, or believing in themselves. Many people nowadays, they deal with panic attacks or deal with these high levels of worry. It all comes down to our self-worth. And if we look at the self-worth, again, I go back to what I started my conversation with you in the beginning. The self-worth comes from our childhood. So
Yes.
when I talk to my clients about self-esteem and confidence, I take them back in time. So we identify what could have happened on our timeline that could have created this low self-esteem. And it's, like I said, 99% of the cases, they stem from home, as close as that, or school, or bullying. What do? We talk about it. Many of the clients do not even realize where it stems from. So they beat themselves, they whip themselves constantly. I'm not good enough. It is something in me. As soon as we identify what could have possibly happened on our lifeline that could have impacted us to the point where we do not have that self-worth, where we constantly think we're not good enough, or we want to be better. We are in competition with ourselves, or we are in competition. Like I had a lady yesterday, and she said that she constantly feels she's not good enough, and she's 40. And when I asked her, who would you measure yourself against? She said, my older sister. My older sister finished Imperial. I finished Westminster. I'm not good enough. When you take that, you think, well, what's it got to do with your sister? After all, you've done really well. You finished uni. You're in your, in your own job. She's in hers. Why is it that your sister bothered you so much? I'm just giving you a little example.
Thank you.
Of what, how therapy can actually identify the problem. And as soon as the bulb switches on, she was, she as a client was, had a big smile. I discovered that in her childhood, because she had a disability, her parents, who were from India, they've sent her away to India for 3 years. They had an older sister and kept the older sister with them. But the younger sister was sent away to India because she could get better medical treatment there, but also the grandparents could give her more attention. And they decided that it was better for the child to be away.
Yes.
She went through self-abandonment because she couldn't understand at that age, why does mom keep her older sister back home in London? And why is she not good enough? So we discovered that she had problems of self-worth from a little incident that her parents never even identified as being the core of the problem. And it is the parents now that are reaching out to me and asking me to help her, not understanding that they themselves caused the problem. So getting back to what I will do as a therapist is not only do I identify the cause of the problem, because that is in itself half of the job done. As soon as somebody realizes that it's not them really, it's whatever happened to them in their lives, it's that creates this impact. As soon as they know where the problem stems, they feel lighter. And then what I do simple exercises as, for example, I make them make 2 lists, like one of their strengths and one of their achievements. And I ask them to read this list over and over again throughout the day. Because what a person with low self-esteem, what they tend to do is they always say throughout the day why they're not good enough. But by having a list of their strengths and their achievements and reading them, even if the brain doesn't want to accept those, eventually the brain starts to think, well, I'm not that bad. I'm quite, I'm quite okay. We just need one little turn in the way we think.
Yes.
And that little turn can happen from identifying and making lists. You also have to stop judging yourself against others, or comparing yourself with the world, or trying to please the world. If we try to please the world, are we really going to ever please the world? Never. There's always someone out there who's going to be critical of us. So by trying to please the world is the wrong way forward. We try to please ourselves. We need to look at what is right for us,
Yes.
what is true to ourselves. So we do not compare ourselves to others. We also put interest. Another way of creating this boosting of self-confidence is to exercise regularly. That's very important, because our brains get the serotonin from the exercises.
Yes.
And it's a very good boosting element. The other thing is our attire. So we don't necessarily need to go and dress ourselves in very expensive clothes. We need to be neatly dressed, put in the interest in our hair, our makeup, our dress code, getting up in the morning and say, well, I'm going to wear this today. I'm going to make, it's about making yourself feel good, making yourself look presentable to yourself, because as soon as you do that, you shift your brain into saying, well, you're not that slob that is always in track bottoms and doesn't care how they look. And yeah. The other thing I say is be nice to other people. When you're nice to other people and you do kind gestures to other people, it's a little thing that adds to your day of making yourself look, feel better, because you've done something good for somebody. You've helped the little old neighbor, or you've helped a friend, or you've listened to someone's problems. Those little instances, as little as they are, and you may think they're insignificant, they give us a boost about ourselves. We've made a difference to somebody's life. We need these little elements of making ourselves feel better.
Absolutely.
Avoid people that are negative. Yeah, avoid people and places that are negative. And we tend to perhaps find buddies who are depressed and who themselves are going through problems. I had a client the other week said, oh, I have my best friend is always on drugs. And I've joined in, and we do it now once or twice a week. As soon as I suggested, and it's a suggestion because you've got to give the person the freedom to decide. As soon as I suggested, how about for 1 month whilst you work with me, instead of paying me money and wasting that money because on being on drugs with this person, why don't you give yourself 1 month break free from drugs? Let's see what happens. You don't need that friend for 1 month. By the end of the month, they've made amazing progress. They feel good about themselves, and then they realize that that particular person whom they thought it was a friend was actually not a friend. It was a person who was no longer serving the purpose of the real new person. There's no point in paying a therapist if you're doing all the negative things over and over again. So we do need at some point to detach ourselves from negative people in our lives.
Indeed.
Or people who can influence ourselves negatively.
Georgiana, thank you so much. That was incredibly comprehensive.
Make yourself a priority.
Sorry for interrupting, Georgiana. We're a little bit short of time. That was incredibly comprehensive.
This is what I wanted to say, Matt. It's such a vast, this is what I wanted to conclude with.
Of course.
It's such a vast topic. I could talk about it for ages. But it's probably better that if I gave anyone flavor of something today, I've made a difference. To me, it's amazing.
Georgiana, I think you definitely have.
Take it forward.
There were some wonderful tips there, some really good advice about how people can boost their self-confidence and indeed their self-esteem. I particularly liked the point you made about helping others. There's lots of ways to do that, and if I could just plug our own volunteer program at the Chelsea Theatre, we have a ready-made scheme, the Community Champion program. Lots of people already know about that. Please contact me if interested. We're also in the coming months going to be wanting far more volunteers to do lots of other great things with us. So a huge thank you for that, Georgiana. It was incredibly helpful. I'd like to now, in the